Hi everyone, package come today, EMS freight, so probably China. So let's go ahead and open up this box. Right, there we have it. It's a set of handlebars and a head stem in one unit, and it's for road. So here they are, full carbon fibre, integrated head stem and handlebar. And the front view showing that sleek aerodynamic form. Right, this should be fairly simple. We'll just plonk the new bars on. Nope, unfortunately it's not that simple. At the very least it means taking the handlebar tape off and on, and then the brake levers have got to come off and on, and then the brake cables and gear cables have got to come off and on. So take a deep breath and we'll take it step by step. The first thing to do, if your new handlebars have internal cable routing, make sure those routings are clear. So get some spare brake outer cable and thread it through each hole. Make sure they're clear all the way through. Next, with a flathead screwdriver, remove the bar end plugs. Unwind your handlebar tape, both sides. And then with a sharp bladed knife, cut and remove the adhesive tape that's holding your brake and gear cables to your handlebars. Now all cables are loosened from your handlebars. Using an ordinary pair of pliers, you can now remove the inner gear and brake cable ends. That's these little things. And now with an Allen key, unfasten the anchor bolts on both your brakes and your gears. Pull all the inner cables out of the frame, and that should leave all your cables loose. If you have barrel adjusters on your cables like these, you'll need to remove them as well. And now with the correct Allen tool, loosen the brake lever clamps. And take your brake levers off your handlebars. Removing the front wheel, loosen and remove the A-head cap. Do not loosen or remove the A-head plunger system in the steerer tube of your forks. Loosen the head stem clamp bolts. Don't just undo one bolt at a time. Undo them at a fairly even pressure on both bolts. That might mean going back and forth from each bolt 2 or 3 times. Now twisting the forks, the head stem should just slide off easily. Clean the fork steerer with a clean rag. Then using carbon paste, put an even coating back on the fork steerer. Now remove the bolts on your new head stem. Now put an even coating of that carbon paste on the steerer aperture of your head stem. Fit the head stem on the fork steerer. And now put some grease on the thread of the head stem clamp bolts. Here I'm using lithium grease. Now you can put the A head stem cap back in, but don't tighten it up too tight yet. Put the head stem bolts in, but again don't tighten them up too tight yet. Front wheel back in. Now we'll begin tightening those head stem bolts. Make sure the torque wrench is set at the appropriate setting. For this it's 5 Newton meters. But at this stage only go to about 2 or 3 Newton meters. Now you can begin sliding your brake levers onto the handlebars. Don't slide the brake levers all the way up into position yet. You'll need to start threading your brake and gear cables through the apertures of the handlebars. You'll need to make sure the outer cable ends fit well into the appropriate cavity in the lever body. Do this slowly as you move your lever up on the bars to the approximate position you want it to be. Once in position, tighten the lever clamp so it's just snug. And now repeat the same process with the other side. Good. Now start threading your cables through your frame. If your new stem and bars are the same size as your previous stem and bars, you may find the cable lengths are just perfect, but if not, give it this test. Turn the handlebars sideways and you'll see if the cables are too long or too short, especially since now the cables route through the handlebars. You may even want to take this opportunity to replace all your gear and brake cables with fresh ones, like I'm doing here. If so, you'll need to measure and cut every cable. And talking about cutting cables, use proper cable cutter snips. This will ensure the outer ends are flush and the inner cable ends don't fray. Remember to always put on the outer cable ends, particularly with your gear cables, as this will ensure you have accurate indexing. Now that the cables are all connected, don't cut and tidy up the inner cables just yet. Make sure your head stem is straight with your front wheel, and then that your A-head set is not too tight or too loose. This will entail fine adjustments with the A-head cap. Once you're satisfied that the A-head set is just right and the head stem is straight with the front wheel, you can begin to tighten those stem bolts. Remember to always use a torque wrench when clamping on carbon fibre parts, and note the manufacturer's recommended forces to be used. The position on your bicycle is vital. It directly affects your efficiency to perform. A professional bike fit considers your 3 contact points: your feet, your seat, and your hands. And your hands are basically your handlebars and stem. And here are the main hand positions for measuring for your bars and stem. On the drops, avoid the ends of the drops. It's too easy for your hands to slip off. That's better. And on the top of your bars for general riding and hill climbing. And on top of your lever hoods also for general riding and hill climbing. It's important to retain your personal ideal bike fit, and that will include your bar and stem measurements. You'll also need to quote these measurements when ordering a set of bars and stem, like the integrated set in this video. The width of the handlebar usually comes in 2 cm increments. The drop of the handlebar, you'll need to look very carefully horizontally to get the exact measurement. And the reach, you'll also have to look carefully to get that right. Measurements are usually taken centre to centre of tubing, but be aware some manufacturers use outside to outside measurements, so you'll need to keep this in mind when ordering your bars and stem. So there's the width, the drop, and the reach. Then measuring the head stem is usually from the centre of the plunger bolt to the centre of the handlebar. And stem lengths are commonly in ½ centimetre increments. And last but not least is head stem angles, and common angles are plus and minus 6 degrees and plus and minus 17 degrees. So there you go, measurements are important when you're going to buy your bar and stem. Having a professional bike fit will help you identify measurements, but even more importantly is being patient, spending time on your bike over the years, and you'll know your own physiology, how you feel on the bike in different conditions, and what you demand as a cyclist, because we're not all the same and we don't have perfect bodies either. Some of us slightly lopsided on one side, strengths are different. So you'll know over time, be patient, and you'll get to know your physiology on your bike, how you sit. No one is the same as another person either. I'm applying the same force with both the 3T and the integrated bar stem. So this is 3T's mid-priced separate alloy bar and stem. Right, so now this is the Chinese made full carbon fibre integrated bar and stem. It's identical in shape and measurements to the 3T. And as you can see, they have significantly more flex than the 3Ts. So back to the 3Ts, it's a front view. And the Chinese integrated bar stem, again you can see has significantly more flex. And a top view gives you a better view of the head stem flex. The flex of the integrated set seemed to come from the area of where the bars join the stem. And finally the weights. If you thought the integrated carbon bars were lighter than 3Ts, think again. 340 grams for the aluminium 3Ts and 400 grams for the integrated carbon fibre bars. So I just do the rear brake. So I was looking forward to using those bars. It would have been really nice to have some nice looking bars, but unfortunately they're too flexy for me. Anyone with a bit of upper body strength will find too flexy on the hills when you're riding on the hoods, and especially in a sprint won't be any good at all. So what a pity. I'm going back to the old bars. These are lighter slightly than the integrated bar, and they're definitely stronger than the integrated bar. I wouldn't mind seeing some tests somewhere on YouTube or online somewhere where they test against, say, 3T against other name brand integrated bars and stem. I haven't seen any tests yet, but it would be nice. Failing that, it might suit you, those bars, maybe, but they certainly don't suit me, so that's my test over and done with for those integrated bars and stem. So if you're going to buy a new bar and stem and you're not sure about your measurements, which bars you should buy and which stem, you're not ready to purchase yet. Especially if you're going to go for integrated bar and stem. Remember, they're one piece, you can't alter angles or anything, and if you want a different stem length, you can't change that either. It's fixed. Whereas if you buy a separate bar and stem like that, at least you've got some adjustments and you can replace, say, your stem, it's cheaper, or your bar, whichever you want to do, and you can mix and match. So until you're absolutely sure what bars and stems you like, what size, measurements, I wouldn't be advising go integrated as yet.